In order to reduce the high rate of maternal and child mortality in the country, the federal government is engaging at least 100,000 agents under the Community Health Influencers, Promoters and Services Program. These agents are meant to boost health workforce at health centers, serve in rural areas, and bring healthcare delivery to the doorsteps of rural dwellers. My guest on this week's episode of the program explains how the program will boost healthcare delivery in rural communities. Hello there, welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Gloria Umezuke. The Community Health Influencers, Promoters and Services Program is a community-based initiative whereby individuals with basic criteria, including commitment and agility, will be selected by traditional institutions to carry out basic medical needs of the people in their communities. The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency is saddled with the responsibility of implementing the program, and the Chief Executive Officer explains what the program is all about in our interview. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital? The federal government has announced plans to make Nigeria a major hub for investment in the oil and gas sector on the continent. This will be done through rebuilding the nation's local refining capacity to serve as a sole oil marketer in Africa. Speaking at the Africa International Petroleum Summit in Abuja, the Secretary to the federal government, Mr. Boss Mustafa, says the overall objective is to create jobs, reduce foreign exchange outflow, and promote technology transfer.
Nigeria is open to private sector investment in the downstream sector and is pursuing vigorously a program for the rehabilitation of existing refineries so as to enhance capacity to supply locally refined products to Nigeria and West Africa.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has advocated the need to improve the nation's foreign policy in order to advance diplomatic objectives. The Vice President was speaking at the maiden annual Foreign Service Public Lecture amidst criticisms by former ambassadors over the inactive state of the nation's foreign policy and the politicking inherent in it.
Countries today, and our country in particular, have to use a more novel variety of tools, including soft power, to advance our economic and diplomatic objectives. The Foreign Service has a role and a duty to influence policy at home, to consistently nudge the government to take action where necessary in a proactive and engaged manner. This is especially critical at a time when record numbers of Nigerians are featuring in the tragic narratives of slave camps in North Africa and capsizing boats in the Mediterranean.
A peace parley of stakeholders from Nasarawa and Benue states on how to end the farmers-herders crisis has been convened by the Inspector General of Police. Addressing the meeting in Abuja, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Ibrahim Idris, urged the stakeholders to ensure resolutions at the meeting targets peace and reconciliation.
I know a lot of effort and progress has been made in this crisis between Benue and the Natural State. I attended the stakeholders meeting, both in Benue and Natural State, and I conducted on the spot assessment to Logo, to Anyim and to Tunga also.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is asking the federal government to reconsider the proposed establishment of cattle colonies and encourage the herdsmen to embrace ranching their cattle. After considering a motion on the need to educate and encourage herdsmen on the benefits of ranching instead of the proposed cattle colony in every state of the Federation, the House observed that the proposed establishment of cattle colony violates the Land Use Act.
Concerned that the decision to establish cattle colonies in each state could be in violation of Section 42 and 43 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, and the Land Use Act, also urge the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources to liaise with the State Ministries of Agriculture to speedily educate and encourage the herdsmen on the benefit of ranching.
President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the military and other security agencies to swing into action and provide him with information regarding the abduction of students of Government Girls Science Technical College, Dapchi, in Yobe State. Briefing State House correspondents, Minister of Information Alhaji Lai Mohammed said the president also set up a team to embark on a fact-finding mission to the state.
A delegation led by Minister of Defense would be going also to Dapchi to take, take control of the situation and also get a first-hand information as what is happening.
The Federal Executive Council has approved $6.7 billion for the construction of Ibadan-Kaduna Standard Gauge Railway project. Addressing State House correspondents on the outcome of the meeting of the Federal Executive Council, the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, said the project was part of the Ibadan to Kano Railway project.
What was awarded today was Ibadan to Kaduna for $6.7 billion. This is an old contract that was awarded in 2006. The only difference now is that we had to award the spur that is going to Ado-Ekiti. So at Oshobo, there's a new contract from Oshobo to Ado-Ekiti that has brought the entire contract to 6.7 from Ibadan to Kaduna.
The Council of State has approved a fresh $1 billion to further boost the nation's agricultural sector. Briefing State House correspondents after the Council's meeting, Governor Ibikunle Amosun of Ogun State expressed hope that the amount would enhance the federal government's diversification program.
It was advised that we should improve on the funding and increase the funding on agriculture. I mean, it was partly about $200 million. But if you compare that side by side to what we are investing, what we are pumping in the area of oil, that is the monolithic economy that we are all running, we notice that it is just insignificant. So Council recommend that at least about $1 billion should now be pumped into agriculture.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has set up a committee to investigate the alleged incidents of underage voting in the just concluded local government election in Kano State. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu explains that the committee, which has 2 weeks to submit its report, will not investigate the conduct or outcome of the local government election conducted by the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission.
We promised Nigerians that the matter will be fully investigated and a committee will be set up for this purpose, headed by a national commissioner with resident electoral commissioners and staff from the technical departments of INEC as members. For the purpose of clarification, the committee is not investigating the conduct or outcome of the local government election by the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission. These are outside the constitutional and legal responsibilities of INEC. Rather, the committee shall focus solely on the allegation of underage persons